Declan Rice, how I wish we signed Declan Rice. Every time I watch Declan Rice play for Arsenal, he shows me what £100 million player is. And Arsenal have beat Manchester City at home, Liverpool at home, despite being in a month blip where everyone wrote Arsenal out of the title race. I think Arsenal made a statement to say, we are well and truly in the title race. And I was enjoying the Arsenal downfall. I was loving it. All the Arsenal fans on social media panicking, going quiet. I was thinking AFTV's coming back. And I just said, well, you can't write off Arsenal. They're going to have a break. They're going to come back. And I know Arsenal have that quality, and they proved that today. Liverpool are missing key players. Liverpool made a lot of mistakes themselves. Alisson and Van Dijk, two of the best players in the world, arguably the best players in the world in their position, made mistakes there that they wouldn't make. But there's no doubt in my mind that Arsenal did deserve to win that game. They were very dominant. I'm looking at it from a neutral perspective, kind of wanting a draw because I equally dislike Arsenal and Liverpool, but then I think a win makes the title race more interesting. But I don't want Arsenal fans to get excited, but then I don't want Liverpool to win. So it was a weird one supporting because I just wanted both teams to lose. But I want to talk about Declan Rice. I want to talk about Jorginho, that pivot, and why Arsenal won the game. I will talk about Liverpool towards the end of this video, but I want to talk about Arsenal, what worked so well for them. Martinelli, I don't know why he was subbed off. I think that's got to be the big criticism of Arteta today, but I think Arteta was absolutely spot on with Jorginho and Rice. And when Jorginho is on it. Him and Rice today were unbelievable. Arteta was tactically spot on. He did a 4-4-2 high press, man-to-man, creating mini transitions with long balls. And that meant that Martinelli was getting in behind with space. That was causing Konate problems, Van Dijk problems, getting them carded. I think the Konate second yellow was soft, but Havertz did quite well to do that. Jorginho, Rice and Odegaard were insane today. That Jorginho-Rice pivot won Arsenal the game because Arsenal were in control of that game. And I've said this multiple times on this channel, my Manchester United channel over the years. Games are won and lost in midfield. If you can control the midfield, you can win a game. And yes, Szoboszlai wasn't there for Liverpool, and maybe if they had Conor Bradley, they could have put Trent into midfield and it could have been different, and they were missing key players. But Arsenal were in 100% control of midfield, and that is why they won the game. McAllister has been unbelievable for Liverpool these last 1 or 2 games, absolutely unbelievable. He was lost. He had too much to do. Arsenal just swarmed Liverpool, pressed Liverpool, the man-to-man press, which I think Darwin Núñez, if he'd started left wing, maybe Liverpool could have gone over Arsenal and avoided the man-to-man press and played long. That's maybe something that I'm surprised Klopp didn't try. But Arsenal were immense in midfield. They won everything. Liverpool didn't really create a single chance. They had to score an own goal, which was not really an own goal, but it was an own goal, wasn't it? They had to score a messy goal, which Arsenal, I guess, gifted to them. And while the quality of the game wasn't amazing and the goals weren't great, Arsenal proven this season we can beat Liverpool at home, we can beat Manchester City at home, and I can't stand Arsenal. I absolutely can't stand Arsenal, but I think it's very reactionary to write off a team after 1 month. Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. The title race is heating up. If Man City win their 2 games in hand, they go on 52 points. It is really heating up. It's really, really getting interesting, this title race here. And Liverpool are now still in the title race, but Arsenal are now back in the title race. And I said this in a video and I got laughed at, but I said Arsenal are favourites to win the Champions League. I mean, this is how dominant they were against Liverpool. They had 42% possession because Arteta sat back, but they exploited Liverpool, giving them space in behind. 3.44 XG, 15 shots, 6 big chances created, 4 missed. I said Arsenal are my favourites to win the Champions League. And I'm a Manchester United fan, just to clarify this. And the reason I said Arsenal are my favourites to win the Champions League is because I said Arsenal look better against the bigger teams. Arsenal seem to struggle against the lesser teams that don't give them space, that they have to try and break down. When Arsenal play against a side that they have less of the ball against, that tries to attack them and leave space in behind, Arsenal are ruthless. Martinelli in behind. There's a reason why Martinelli, I think, dropped off a bit this season, because teams weren't giving Arsenal the space this season that they gave him last season, because people looked at Arsenal and they're like, yeah, this side is serious, like we've got to be defensively good against them. I don't think people were expecting Arsenal to be as good as they were last year and gave Arsenal a bit more space. And I've said, in the Man City game, in this game, even the Lens game, Lens tried to play attacking football against Arsenal and Arsenal beat them 6-0. If you give Arsenal space, they will beat you. And that's why I put Arsenal down as my favourites to win the Champions League, because it's like every game in the Champions League is a big game with teams that are going to leave space in behind for Arsenal. And Arsenal, I think, can beat any of the big teams, weirdly, but struggle against the smaller teams because they're struggling against the low block, but they're great at exploiting space because they've got Martinelli, who I think Martinelli should have stayed on. I thought Trossard was great. But I would have taken Saka off if I was Arteta. ahead of Martinelli, because I think Martinelli was going to be a threat behind. You're 2-1 up. Liverpool going to have to push and push and push. Martinelli in behind makes it 3-1, punished them. They obviously won 3-1. Konate went down, and it sort of all fizzled out in Arsenal's way. But I have to say, Arteta got his tactics spot on, and Arsenal brilliant today. Liverpool didn't create a single big chance. Liverpool struggled. Liverpool didn't do a whole lot. And Liverpool, I've done a video on it, Liverpool have been the best. There's a reason Liverpool are top of the league. Liverpool have been the best team in the league this season. And Arsenal put them to bed. And I want to talk about someone who isn't my man of the match. My man of the match is Declan Rice. But I want to talk about someone that's very underrated. And that person is Jorginho. I might do a video, and let me know in the comments about Jorginho and Rice and why that pivot worked and why that could be key for Arsenal moving forward. But McAllister is arguably the best DM, one of the best DMs, one of the informed midfielders in the league this season. Curtis Jones has been really good for Liverpool this season. Gravenberch has been hit and miss. Yes, they're missing Szoboszlai, but Jorginho comes in. He can be hit and miss. But this is the kind of game where Jorginho thrives. Him and Rice shut down shop. That Liverpool front three struggled today. They really did. I don't remember really Gakpo doing anything. Jota didn't have his best game, and I think Jota's an absolute baller. And this is because Jorginho and Rice were very, very good. The midfield pivot was very, very good for Arsenal. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, Declan Rice, monster of the game, unbelievable reading of the game. This guy's been ridiculous all season. I wanted Man U to sign him. I was desperate for Man U to sign him. I would take him at Man United in a heartbeat. I'm a big fan of Declan Rice. I've made that clear even from his West Ham days. But he's an elite 6, but he can also play as an 8. So a double pivot worked really well. Jorginho and Rice are both players that can play as 6s and 8s. And I think that double pivot worked really well because they can showcase the best of both worlds. It allows for one to go forward and one to stay back, and the other to go forward and stay back and use the best of their ability. You've got Declan Rice for the duels. You've got Declan Rice for sort of the ball carrying, and then you've got sort of Jorginho again for ball carrying and press resistance, but Jorginho can get that defensive stability, whereas I think Liverpool would have exploited a Havertz, Odegaard, Rice midfield three because that would have given them space to play through. We know that Liverpool like to play through space. It meant that Liverpool didn't have much space because they were set up so defensive. We saw that Man U got a 0-0 draw at Anfield because Man United played 11 players behind the ball and just sat as deep as they can. I think Arteta took a bit of that, not quite as defensive as Manchester United, and sat, you know what, I'm going to go deep, double pivot, Rice, Jorginho. It's going to be defensive. It's almost going to be like a 4-4-2 press, and then we're just going to let them have the ball and get them on transition because overall Liverpool, even though they were missing key players, were the better team. They are the better team. They absolutely dominated Chelsea. And I think that Jorginho, Odegaard, Rice, Martinelli and Ben White all had phenomenal games today. I've called Declan Rice the interception monster because I think he has that ability to intercept everything. And in terms of double pivots, Rice and Jorginho, it's so good. It's a shame. Well, actually, I don't care. But Thomas Partey and Rice could work really well, and I don't know what's going on with him. But Jorginho sometimes he's on it and sometimes he's not on it player. He's a bit like Fred of Man United. When Fred from Man United could have 4 or 5 games in a row, but he was a 9, 10 out of 10. And Man United missed Fred a bit this season. And then he'd have other games he put in stinker. And Jorginho reminds me of Fred, but a little bit better. You know, he was a Ballon d'Or nominee for a reason. Where when he's on it, he's on it. And him and Rice today in the pivot was phenomenal. And that caused Liverpool problems. That box midfield of Arsenal's caused Liverpool so many problems. It's something that Pep tried to use against Liverpool, sort of that box approach. And Liverpool, you know, they have a lot of midfielders, a lot of options. I think Thiago coming back will be massive for them. And I don't think this is necessarily a big setback for Liverpool because I think a lot of the mistakes Liverpool invited on themselves. Arsenal were dominant. Arsenal deserved to win. Arsenal were the better side. But Liverpool did invite a lot of the mistakes on themselves through just Van Dijk and Alisson doing things that they wouldn't normally do. So I don't think Liverpool have a reason to be worried. But Arsenal tactically was spot on. I want to talk about Martinelli, who I thought was really good. I do want to talk about a few other things, but I wanted to give Jorginho a bit of credit because I think he's one of those guys that won't always get the credit he deserved, but I thought he was fantastic today. And I want to show you one more thing about Jorginho before I move into my next thing, and that is Jorginho's passing map. His possession play was on point today. Declan Rice could be the interception monster, make sure Liverpool didn't get by. And Jorginho, because I think Arsenal sort of needed that left centre mid presence. Jorginho could be the guy that could get the ball, feed it into Martinelli, make the most out of that. And I think one of the reasons Martinelli dropped off a little bit this season was maybe due to the lack of left centre mid presence and the ball being fed to him and also him being asked to stretch the width. But I think we saw the best of Martinelli today because one, space is in behind. And 2, you've got Odegaard and Jorginho feeding him the ball. And I think if there's space behind him, there's a left centre mid to feed the ball to Martinelli. You know what good and dangerous winger that he is. You know, today, you know, 1 big chance created, 1 key pass, 1 goal, 3 out of 4 ground duels, 2 dribbles, getting in behind constant threat. I think that Martinelli's not maybe on his best season, but there's no doubt in my mind he's a brilliant player. We saw what he did last season. We saw his statistics. And I think Martinelli, I think it was the Crystal Palace game, got 2 goals on the transition. You give Martinelli the ball and you give him the ball in space. He's so direct, he can drive at players, he can cause a problem. And I think that's something Arteta needs to do more, is play to Martinelli's strengths, because he will cause a lot of problems. And I think Trossard coming on was good, but I think Trossard should have come off for Saka, especially because I feel like at the end of every game, Saka seems to be like done, knackered, injured. And that's something that a lot of managers do. There's certain players that Ten Hag will never take off, or Ten Hag will continue to bring on Anthony. And there's certain players that seems to never come off under certain managers. And that is Saka at Arsenal. I understand why, to an extent, of how good Saka's been, but I think maybe Martinelli should have stayed on, because I thought he was great today. I thought he was one of the best players. I thought it was an outlet. But Trossard coming on was equally as good. And what Trossard is he's a 2-footed finisher. He's good in the central areas. He's good at ride. He's good in the half space. He's a 2-foot finisher. And Arsenal made a big point today. Martinelli was beating Konate in foot races, and Konate's been arguably 3rd, 4th best centre-back in the league this season. Gabriel was an absolute monster at the back today as well. I know he was sort of the little handball there. You could argue that was Saliba's fault, to be honest. But Liverpool did not control the midfield. Liverpool were clearly missing players. But I think you have to give credit to Arteta how he tactically set up. Liverpool didn't create any big chances. They got exploited in behind. Yes, Liverpool made so many individual errors that I don't think Liverpool were in trouble or anything like that. Key players missing individual errors. But Arsenal were dominant. Arsenal deserved to win, and Arsenal beat Man City and they beat Liverpool at home. This is a big statement. They weren't winning those kind of games last season. And while I think City might be title favourites now, but then so could Liverpool, and it's so difficult. That title race is so close. I think when people were writing off Arsenal because they had one bad month, might need to go, wait a sec. They can beat City. They can beat Liverpool at home. There's a good side there. They've not had Partey all season. Tomiyasu's a big miss. Timber was meant to be a key player this season. As much as I hate to admit it, I don't like Arsenal. I really don't. But there is quality there, and Arteta is a very good manager. And I made a video on it, and then I deleted it because I thought this is the wrong timing because Arsenal just lost. But Arteta's very new to management, and where Arsenal were and how he's changed the culture of the club and how he's changed so much of Arsenal, I feel sometimes goes unnoticed by people that aren't Arsenal fans, and I'm not an Arsenal fan. But all in all, I think it's better Arsenal one than Liverpool one for me. Now Arsenal fans are getting excited and giddy, and they're going to be so annoying on social media. But massive statement from Arsenal, particularly in that title race. If you want a tactical video about that Rice Jorginho pivot, maybe let me know in the chat. If you want me to do a video about who I think is going to win the title in a title race video, talking about Arsenal, City and Liverpool, where the strengths and weaknesses are, let me know in the chat. Smash a like, smash a subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.